Alright, so 2024 is more than halfway done and it's time to talk about a few movies which released in 2024. But today we are only going to talk about epic movies.
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
Like big, grand, gigantic scale movies. In short, epic movies. Basically, I'm not talking about the best movies of 2024, but I am in fact talking about epic movies of 2024 which are released till now. So we'll be talking about 7 movies, and this is not the ranking actually. Only the top 3 movies which I'll be mentioning, those are ranked, but other than those, they are just randoming name. So let's start with the first one. That means the 7th movie in this list, Godzilla Minus 1. Now I know Godzilla Minus 1 originally released in theaters worldwide in the month of December 2023, but for me at least, because I am in India the movie didn't release in theaters, it directly released on Netflix and it released this year, so I'll be considering it a movie that came out in 2024. But talking about the movie, this is the most genuine Godzilla movie, like grounded movie, human stakes at it, and actually I didn't expect a Godzilla movie to be actually driven by love. This movie is actually a love story, but there is Godzilla somehow present in between, and it really seamlessly just integrates with each other and just delivers a very grand epic movie at the same time, but also very grounded and a very honest to heart, very heartfelt movie you could say. But again, it doesn't compromise on the grand or epicness of Godzilla. So it is available on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Talking about Godzilla, I have to mention Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, which released this year. Now this Godzilla movie is perhaps the complete opposite of Godzilla Minus 1, and this movie actually fits perfectly in the monster-verse movies. Very typical, we see these grand gigantic fights, we see Godzilla change its color in every movie, we see grand fights, we see a good enough storyline, though this time the story, I felt it was better than the other Godzilla movies, because this time we actually got to know the real history or the real dispute between Godzilla and Kong, or what happened with their ancestors, and it really sheds a light on what that really meant in current timeline. But other than that, it's again a spectacle movie. We see giant Godzilla, we see giant Kong, this time not fighting each other though, this time they were friends, this time they were working together. So it's again that big screen experience, and as I said, it really fits in that monster-verse slate, which, you know, the stories are not really great, but the movies are just epic enough to just make it a good experience. Next we have to talk about Civil War. Now Civil War is a movie which really was famous in critics. A lot of people appreciated this movie. This movie actually is set in a distant future, in a dystopian future, but in this dystopian future, the United States, it's actually divided, and the United States, it's actually going through a Cold War. And because of this, there are a few journalists who actually want to meet the president, and there are a lot of things around that. But the main heart of the movie is actually, it's a road trip movie. I mean, yeah, it's literally a road trip movie between this all environment of this dystopian future or this war-torn America. That is the main heart of the movie, and it really is driven by some great performances. Very good performance. The movie feels a bit slow, but it's a collectively good experience to watch this movie. Then I have to talk about Twisters. I just watched Twisters last week and it's currently playing in theaters, and it's a tornado chasing movie. It's a lot of fun, but the main part of this movie are actually 2 parts. One is the chemistry between the 2 leads. Very nice chemistry. I absolutely loved them. They were both very charming on screen. But other than that, the climax of the movie, the climax that this movie delivers is just very, very good. I absolutely loved the climax. It was all that huge tornadoes and cars flying around, people flying around, and there's a bit of redemption arc as well for a few characters. Again, this is a kind of a movie which really benefits your experience if you watch this movie in a big screen in theaters. But anyways, Twisters is again a very solid epic movie. Now let's talk about our top 3 movies, and this is actually, I'm ranking the top 3 movies. At number 3, we have Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Now this movie is actually the prequel of the Mad Max movie that we got in the year 2016-2017, I guess. And this time we followed the story of Furiosa, and it's basically a prequel, as I said. But there's one thing about this movie which actually for some people could be a deal breaker. And the thing is, the movie's pacing is slow. Now for some people, if they actually get engrossed in the story, they'll absolutely love it. Like me, I enjoyed the slowness of the movie. But on the other hand, for a few people, the slowness would actually be too slow. But having said that, the slowness of the movie actually builds the story arc, the character arc of Furiosa, because there are a lot of scenes which actually takes time to, flourish into a full-fledged scene. The movie actually takes its time, but the time that it invests on creating this grand scale of things is actually commendable. And the acting by Anna Taylor-Johnson, great, really good. But there's a surprise element in this movie, and that was Chris Hemsworth and his performance. Well, if you don't know that Chris Hemsworth is in this movie and you directly watch the movie, you'll feel like, this actor actually looks like Chris Hemsworth. But is he Chris Hemsworth? Well, he is Chris Hemsworth, but the makeup and all the prosthetics on his face actually makes him look less like Chris Hemsworth, but still like Chris Hemsworth. But his acting performance was again very good, very over the top, I should say, very over the top, loud, but actually his character is quite enjoyable to watch. Now let's talk about our top 2 movies. At number 2 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Well, this is again that kind of a journey movie that you have to take through. Like, there are some movies which when you watch and when you finish the movie, it feels like you have actually gone through the journey of those characters. And this movie is again epic. And by the way, not a lot of people actually gave a chance to this movie, and that was simply because that the original trilogy of Planet of the Apes, it is just great. It is just masterful. All of these 3 movies, especially the last 2 movies, are really masterpieces, and Matt Reeves did a phenomenal job in the final 2 movies. And everyone was thinking that the story of those 3 movies was so perfect, and it would be just foolish to just continue that story and just make a 4th, 5th movie, and because that may make those movies a bit less good. And then again, there was a huge time jump between the 3rd Planet of the Apes movie and this new Planet of the Apes movie. It was actually the change of an age while we come to this movie, but that actually makes a very good narrative to the story of how we actually forget the legends, or how people, or in this case apes, actually rule people, and actually how vanish the legacy of few people which were actually revolutionary, and how the history actually changes as we go deeper into different ages. But having said that, this movie is again long, but it's epic, man. It's an experience. Now let's talk about number 1. I think most of you must have guessed it. It's Dune Part 2. Epic, masterful. And Dune Part 2 could be the movie this year at the Academy Awards, which was Oppenheimer last year. Like, just winning awards right, left and center. Dune could be really that movie. Great performance from Timothée Chalamet. Zendaya, again pretty nice. But the way the director of this movie, Denis Villeneuve, actually continued the story which he left very unfulfilled at the end of the first movie. But in this movie, we actually see what this story is actually capable of, and what this world that Denis Villeneuve has crafted is actually capable of delivering. Because it's again a very, very good movie. Cinematography top notch, character arcs top notch, performances top notch, music top notch. Everything is pretty good about this movie. And please tell me that does this happen to you as well? That when you watch a movie, when you watch a very good movie, very memorable movie, and there are a few scenes or a scene from that movie which really stays with you, it really becomes a part of you and you just remember that scene. And this movie actually gave me one of those scenes. Just to give you an example, I'm sure for a lot of you and for me as well, the train scene in Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, is really one of those scenes which we really remember whenever we think about Spider-Man 2, or it's one of those scenes which you really take home after watching the movie. And in this movie, this was the scene that was just epic for me, and I've actually made a video on that scene. You can check that video out later. But yeah, these were my 7 movies which were epic that released in 2024. Please tell me in the comments which movies have you seen, and also you can actually share your rankings of all of these movies as well in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for watching.